threw the rock that killed Alexa Bartell?
Joseph Koenig.
I'd like to talk to you about the crimes you and Joseph Koenig committed together. Did you two start throwing rocks at oncoming cars at least beginning in February of 2023?
Yes, that sounds accurate.
And was it just the two of you who would do this, you and Mr. Koenig?
Yes, at that time it was.
And did you and he, Mr. Koenig, do this even before you knew Zachary Kwak?
Yes, we did.
Generally describe on February 25th, 2023, how that went down, how that happened.
So it started like pretty much any other day. It was just me and Joe hanging out. And at this point, we had already gotten into, for lack of a better word, a habit of throwing these rocks. And up until that point, it was at parked vehicles. But on that day, we were driving, and I believe it was in my truck, and Joseph happened to be driving. And we were on a 2-lane road, and we had rocks in the car because we had been throwing them at parked vehicles. And on that road, we had a oncoming car coming right at us. And Joe lowered his windshield on the driver's side, and he threw one at the car that was coming towards us.
And I'd like to speak with you to start more generally of the incidents on February 25th, the one incident on April 1st that you're charged with and convicted of, and then the incidents on April 19th. So I'm just going to be focusing on those, okay?
Okay.
So on those 3 specific nights, describe how it would begin, the decision that you and Mr. Koenig would make to throw rocks or other items at oncoming cars. On those 3 nights, how would that decision be made?
So, as I said, we were already in this habit of doing it with parked vehicles. So, whenever it would get late at night, we would go to certain spots to pick up these rocks, and we would just drive around pretty much anywhere, and we would throw them at vehicles parked or in the cases of the ones that are charged moving.
You said you would go late at night to collect these rocks and then throw these rocks?
Yes.
Why late at night?
Because it would be harder to see.
Harder for you to see or harder for people to detect you?
Harder for people to detect us.
On these nights, were you usually driving or was Defendant Koenig usually driving?
It depends. We switched off driving.
Do you remember telling law enforcement that it was usually Defendant Koenig who was driving?
Yes, I do.
And that on April 1st, it was you that night who was driving?
Yes, it was.
And are you right-handed?
Yes, I am.
Is Defendant Koenig left-handed?
I'm unsure.
Was it easier for you in April of 2023 to throw rocks out of the passenger side window with your dominant hand?
Yes.
How would you throw rocks at oncoming vehicles?
So for oncoming vehicles, what I would do is I would lower my window on the passenger side, and then with my dominant hand, I would go up and over the roof of the truck.
How would Defendant Koenig throw rocks at oncoming vehicles when he was driving?
He would have the driver's side window rolled down, and he would, I guess, kind of shot put it with his left hand.
And would you do this at different times or at the same time?
At different times, but mostly sticking to late evening into night.
And that was a bad question. Would you throw these rocks simultaneously or would you take turns throwing them at different cars?
In some cases, we would throw them simultaneously. In others, we would take turns throwing them.
How would you know when to throw a rock at an oncoming car?
We would communicate to each other if there was a car that we saw that we wanted to hit.
And how would you communicate to each other if you saw a car that you wanted to hit?
Mostly we would either say left or right, or in some cases it would just be speed up, and we would know that at that point that's when we were gonna throw the rocks.
And how were you able to see the oncoming cars at night?
Through their headlights.
Would you have your headlights on?
Yes, we did.
You mentioned you'd say left or right. Was that things like contact left, contact right?
Yes.
Let's talk about the night of February 25th that you started talking about earlier. Was Defendant Koenig driving that night?
Yes, he was.
And you mentioned he had a black Ford F-150?
Yes, dark in color.
And so where did you meet up that night of February 25th?
I believe we met up at Joe's house, and it depends on what truck we would take, but when we were using his, I would park on the street in front of his house, and we would use his truck.
And so did you use his truck that night?
I can't recall which truck we used.
Okay. And so you meet up, and then where did you go to collect rocks?
Typically, there were a couple of places that we frequently went. We would go out front of the Stanley Lake Library, I believe, on Sims, and in front by where they have the sign for the library, there's a lot of landscaping rocks there.
Really just such senseless activity by three 18-year-old boys. We're going to pause it there. Coming up on Court TV, the co-defendant does get choked up when describing what happened the night his friend allegedly threw a giant landscaping rock and killed Alexa Bartell. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott in for Michael Ayala. Back to Colorado and the rock-throwing murder trial for Joseph Koenig. The trial got underway while we were covering Lori Daybell's trial in Arizona. We're bringing it to you now. It is a compelling trial. Koenig is the third and final suspect who was arrested in connection with multiple rock-throwing incidents, including one that killed 20-year-old Alexa Bartell in April of 2023. We're going to go back into court together. We're picking it up now with testimony from the second co-defendant, known as Mitch. Karol-Chik is his last name. He's getting into the moment the final rock was thrown that killed Alexa Bartell.
Let's talk about the murder of Alexa Bartell. What road was Defendant Koenig driving down?
We were going southbound on Indiana.
Can you describe that roadway?
So on that stretch of road, it's very hilly. There's up and down in the road.
Is it well lit?
No, it is not.
Where were you sitting?
I was on the passenger side.
In the front?
Yes.
Where was Zachary Kwak sitting?
He was in the back seat in the middle.
Do you remember saying on January 4th of 2024 that he was in the back passenger seat?
Yes, that seems accurate.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
What did you see as you were at the top of one of those hills?
So while we were at the top of one of those hills, we saw headlights that had just came past the top of another hill that was right in front of us.
Is that who you now know to have been Alexa Bartell driving that car?
Yes.
What did Defendant Koenig do with the speed of the truck once he saw these headlights?
So once the headlights were seen, Joe sped up the truck.
What did he do with his driver's side window?
So he, while he was speeding up, he rolled down the window on the driver's side of the truck.
Was this while Alexa Bartell was driving towards you?
Yes.
How fast was he driving?
How fast was Joe driving? He was going close to 80 miles an hour.
Was his window the only window to be rolled down when approaching Alexa Bartell's oncoming car?
Yes.
What did you hear when he rolled his window down?
So at that point, we were going very fast. So the only thing that you could hear was the wind entering through the window.
Did he speed up before or after he rolled his window down?
It was while he was speeding up that he rolled his window down.
You said he was going about 80 miles an hour when he passed Miss Bartell?
Yes.
How do you know that?
It is because when we were driving past the car, I was tracking it as I was coming towards us. And I was following the way it moved. And when it was beside our vehicle and to the left of it, I was able to look over, and on the dashboard is a digital speedometer. So I saw that he was going 80.
Was Miss Bartell going at normal speeds for that road?
Yes.
Did you hand Joseph Koenig a rock as you had been handing him rocks throughout the night?
I had set it on the center console like I had been doing all night.
Did you put it on the center console for him once you saw Miss Bartell's headlights?
Yes.
Describe how you handed him the rock on that center console.
So I would reach between my legs on the floorboard where the rock was, and I would set it on top of the center console for him to grab.
On this occasion, describe how he grabbed that rock from the center console.
So he had his right hand on the steering wheel, and he reached across his body with his left hand to grab the rock off the center console.
What did he do with that rock once he grabbed it with his left hand?
At that point, his window had already been rolled down. So when the vehicle got close to us, he threw it out of his side of the vehicle.
Was anything said in the car before he passed Alexa Bartell's car?
He was told to speed up while he was driving.
He was told to speed up?
Yes.
Who told him to speed up?
Zach said to speed up.
And did he?
He did.
Was anything else said in the car about this rock?
We said that this was going to be the final one and that we were just going to go home after it.
So someone in the car said last one.
Yeah.
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
Did someone in the car say last one?
It was said that this would be the last rock.
Who said that?
I can't remember who exactly said it.
Could it have been you?
It could have been, yes.
Describe what Defendant Koenig did with this rock as he crossed paths with Alexa Bartell.
So, like he had been doing all night, he, with his left hand, threw it out of the driver's side window into the path of the car that was oncoming.
Had you had enough time to identify Miss Bartell as a target?
No, we had just seen the car coming at us, and that was that.
What did you hear once he threw the rock at Alexa Bartell?
So, with how we were going, we couldn't hear anything other than the wind. It was when we had passed the car that Zach looked out the rear windshield and he said to us, I think they went down into the ditch.
What did Defendant Koenig do once Zach said he saw the car go into a ditch?
So he said, holy and then it was said that we have to go back and see that.
Clearly, you can tell his voice is trembling, quivering. Let us know what you think. Do you believe that he's upset by what happened? We're going to take a break. Coming up on Court TV, the co-defendant Nicholas Karol-Chik gets grilled on cross about what he did and didn't do on the night of the fatal incident. Stay here with us on your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, the accused United Healthcare CEO shooter now facing federal charges. We're unpacking the latest developments as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
The NWSL is on Ion. Barbara Banda and the Pride battle the Spirit.
Take it in the box!
Then Lola Bonta and the Current take on the Dash.
What a strike!
Coverage starts Saturday at 5 p.m.
Ion, it's on.
We are listening to testimony in the rock-throwing murder trial of Joseph Koenig. The jury is now hearing his defense attorney grill the other co-defendant about his participation.
Kind of voice that he does.
When have you heard him do this high-pitched little voice that he does before?
He did it often when we were hanging out.
In what contexts?
It could be just about anything.
After Zachary Kwak said he saw this car go off the road, did Joe do anything?
So it was at that point that we pulled over onto the side of the road and we did a U-turn. So now we were facing northbound. And it was while we were facing northbound that we pulled onto the shoulder of the road. And me and Zach took the remaining rocks that were in our car and we threw them out into the shoulder of the road right there where we were parked.
Why'd you do that?
Because we just wanted to get rid of everything.
Did you consider the rocks to be evidence?
I guess so, yes.
Once you and Mr. Kwak threw the remaining rocks you had out of the car on the shoulder of the road, where did Defendant Koenig drive to?
So it was at that point that we continued going northbound. And it was then that we saw the car pulled over on the side of the road. And it was down in this ditch. And it was at that point that we kept driving past it. And then we turned around again for a third time. So we were coming back down south on Indiana. And at that point, we were going slower. And through the back windshield, Zach took a photo of the car.
To clarify, you say when you passed Alexa Bartell's car, now going in the opposite direction from which you had been, you saw her pulled over on the side of the road. She wasn't on the side of the road, to be clear, right?
No.
Was she in the middle of a field?
Yes.
Had she gone down an embankment?
Yes.
Had she gone through a...
Leading. Sustained.
Can you describe where her car had traveled?
As we were passing, we could see that it was several yards off of the road and that it was that it had been in the middle of this embankment.
And then you mentioned that Mr. Kwak took a photo of her car in the field. Tell us about that.
So that was on our third time passing when we were heading back south on Indiana. And Joe slowed down the car so that Zach could take a photo of it.
And what did he do with that photo?
He sent it to a group text that we had on Snapchat.
And did you see that photo?
Yes.
What could you see in it?
I could see the taillights of a vehicle that was off the road.
Did he tell you why he took that photo?
No.
What did you do with that photo?
I deleted it.
When you passed Alexa Bartell's car off the road, how was Defendant Koenig acting?
It's hard to tell. He was excited.
What did that look like?
He kept turning from his seat in the driver's seat to look at me and to look at Zach in the back seat.
And what would he be doing when looking at you and Zach in the back seat?
He would just be smiling, and he would just look at us with his big smile on his face.
And was this after seeing Alexa Bartell's car in the field?
Yes.
When he hit Alexa Bartell, did he make a noise?
I'm not sure I follow.
When either he hit or passed Alexa Bartell's car, did he ever make a whoop sound?
Yes.
Can you describe that whoop sound and when he made that whoop sound?
So it was when we were passing by for the second time that we were going northbound and saw the car on the side of the road that he did that.